Rejoice, dear viewers or listeners, if you're listening to this as you drive down the road, for this week, update 14.7 drops, and 14.7 kicks off the Grand Voyage event for the 10th anniversary of World of Warships. Now, if you've been living under a rock, this is the event that's bringing us our free 32,000 doubloons, or steel, or combination of the two, depending upon how you wish to receive your rewards. But yes, it is finally here. Now, the second that news was announced that we're getting these free doubloons and steel, I was immediately bombarded with questions along the lines of, hey, Sealord, what ships should I get with those 32,000 doubloons or steel? Well, we went over the steel ships a few weeks ago. Today, what we're going to do is go over the doubloon ships that I do believe you should pick up with those 32,000 doubloons that you can get, if you opt to get the doubloons. Now, of course, there are a number of other things you can get with these 32,000 doubloons. Around the time of the anniversary is normally when the Year of Premium time goes on sale for half off, either there or during the Christmas event. That right there would be a pretty wise choice to spend your doubloons on. And speaking of the Christmas event, we do know that the Christmas event is happening as normal, so the Santa containers will be returning, and you can of course purchase those for doubloons too. So if you are studious enough and get on every day and get every single doubloon that you can get for those 32,000 doubloons, you can then of course turn around and spend those doubloons on Christmas containers, and there's a pretty good chance you'll get quite a few ships in return for that. This video is just going from the point of view of someone who wants to spend doubloons on ships. Now, there's a couple of caveats, of course, involving this. I did not put any coal ships on this list because, well, why would you spend doubloons on a ship you can get for free for coal, right? And if we're maximizing our free-to-play factor here, obviously you don't want to do that. So these are doubloon ships that you can only get for doubloons. So no coal ships will be appearing on this list. Of course, this is just from the ships that are currently available in the game at the moment. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get on into it. Right before we do, though, if you do find yourself enjoying this video, before you click off of it, I would very much appreciate it if you would drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Helps out, of course, tremendously so on the YouTube side of things, and I greatly appreciate it from those of you guys that do that every video. But now, onto the list. Coming in at number 5. We have the Tier 8 Premium American battleship, the Massachusetts. Now, this is another ship where there's another couple of conditions around this ship. And yes, one of those conditions is the fact that this ship is not currently available for purchase in the game at this moment. However, the Massachusetts does return every year in the Black Friday event as the Massachusetts B. In fact, we do have a Massachusetts B background match for you to watch, courtesy of one Weaver, who was originally going to be the subject of one of yesterday's replay videos, but he said no, show my div mate instead. He had a much better game, but now it's Weaver's turn to have a little bit of the spotlight. But anyway, the Massachusetts B does return during the Black Friday event in the containers, and you can outright purchase it. Now, one of the conditions is that it is actually available for doubloons this year. In previous years, more recent previous years, the Massachusetts and the more desirable Black Friday ships are only available for outright cash, but they do often still show up in the containers, which are available for doubloons. So you could potentially, throw some of these free doubloons at the containers trying to get the Massachusetts B. Or Wargaming, since they've been freaking hitting a home run after home run after home run here recently, they could toss her into the store for doubloons. That would be amazing if they did. So if they do that, obviously drop the doubloons on it to get the Massachusetts. But why Sealord? Why get the Massachusetts B? Because it's an absolutely amazing ship. South Dakota class battleship. You get the 9 16-inch American guns, you get the American secondaries, and you get the quick cooldown on the heal and on the damage con, and it has the American battleship improved heal. So it's a really tough, excellent mid-range brawler right there. She's great for random battles, amazing for ranked, anything like small format competitive, or just like small format stuff in the game tends to be more brawlery, and Massachusetts excels at that. So like I said, ranked, brawls, whatever, the Massachusetts will do very well in it, even random battles in today's World of Warships. However, in the somewhat likely case that the Massachusetts B is not available for doubloons this year, what should you get instead, and what's taking the slot at number 5? Well, that's her sister, the Alabama, which is also a Tier 8 premium American battleship, and this one is in the shop right now. You can purchase her currently for doubloons. The Alabama is very much like the Massachusetts in that it's a pretty tough ship. The Alabama is, the TLDR description I give for the Alabama is that it's a North Carolina with better armor and less accurate guns. I mean that in terms of, like, that's how it plays. I understand that the North Carolina is a different class from the Alabama, but, like, that's just a quick down and dirty description of how the ship plays, which is very much true. And that's how it plays. It's more of a mid to longer range Massachusetts with more accurate guns, but you still get that good armor. You don't get the improved cooldown time on the heal and the damage con, though, so you can't exactly go, diving headfirst into close range engagements, although the Alabama is definitely, pretty darn good at it. Not Massachusetts levels of good, but it's pretty darn good. But it's more of a, standard battleship, more in line with the mainline American battleships, mid-range ships that can get in close and do things when necessary. The Alabama used to have amazing AA back in the day. Of course, with all the changes and such that have happened over the years, it's not exactly, S-tier levels anymore, but definitely if a CV player doesn't know what they're doing and they run afoul of your AA, it will most certainly blend planes. Again, not like it's 2018 anymore, but yeah, it's going to hurt if the CV does screw up. So one of those two ships, that's my number 5 suggestion to you guys. But moving quickly down now to our number 4 slot, we have the Tier 8 Premium Japanese heavy cruiser, the Atago. The Atago is one of the oldest premiums in game. This is a ship that replaced the Kitakami after the Kitakami was removed all those years ago. This ship is ancient in terms of this game's lifespan, and it is still one of the single best Tier 8 premium cruisers in the game. Why? You get the great Japanese HE on her very accurate 203mm guns. The Atago's guns are so accurate, they're in that, like, almost too accurate category, because a lot of the, aiming in this game, with the RNG involved, right? Most ships you go, I know my dispersion's, kind of like, yay big, so I'm going to aim in this general area, and, the shells should kind of go right there. The Atago shells tend to go exactly where you point. So there is a case of the grouping's a little bit too tight, and you didn't aim correctly, now you just, washed all of your shells. That's how good this ship's guns are. Which means, combine that with the Japanese HE, with the high HE alpha, and the great fire chance, this is a great ship to bully destroyers with. Couple that with the 9-kilometer detection range you can get with the Atago if you fully build into it. Oh yeah, this thing's great at surprising destroyers and other light cruisers and such too. Other light cruisers, it's a heavy cruiser. Because not only does it have that good HE, but like the AP is no slouch on the Atago either. Bunch of 8-inch shells to your broadside and you're a cruiser, heavy cruiser or a light cruiser, that's not exactly going to go over well with you. Now, on top of all that, the Atago does have some really solid torpedoes too, 9-kilometer torps. And the Atago used to actually have some of the best torpedo angles in the Japanese cruiser family. But over the years, those angles have been buffed, and now they're going through and they actually gave the higher tier Japanese cruisers the turning torpedo mechanic that the light cruisers get, so they get some more comfortable angles there. So that's unfortunately kind of taken away some of the uniqueness from the Atago, but torpedoes, of course, excellent. Something's coming around the corner, throw your wall of torps at them. They're not going to shrug these torps off. They're definitely not the pan-European torps, that I can very much say. So yeah, on top of all that, you get an excellent rudder shift time. If you build into that, it's like a sub 3-second rudder shift time. Pretty stupid, right? But the downside is that the Atago is very much a Japanese heavy cruiser, which means that it's got a short main battery gun range, and the armor isn't really all there. Now, granted, you do have good concealment and that good maneuverability that you get with the fast rudder. Either way, even if you don't build into it, the rudder shift is still pretty dang good on the Atago. You can, dance around some shells, and that can get you pretty far. But of course, in a game where we have, ever larger battleship guns being added to the tier, to tier 9 into tier 10 ships, which is definitely within the Atago's matchmaking bracket. One slip up and, there goes half of your HP. You battleship mains out there, I'm one of you guys. One of the one of my most favorite sights in game is a broadside Atago. Or really just an Atago in general, because I know if I can hit it, I'm probably going to rip half of his HP off, right? It does get a heal, though, so you can, kind of lick your wounds to get back into the action and such. But the guns are so good, and once you get good at dancing, the Atago's a really solid ship. And again, another thing, too, with the Atago is learning when to disengage, because you do have, again, an excellent concealment rating. So when things get too hot, just stop shooting, go dark, run away, reposition, and re-engage. It's a great ship for that, and once you get the hang of it, it can be a really annoying ship to fight against, because again, great HE, great fire chance. You know how annoying it is to have a ship that, pops up and within a salvo or two sets you on fire if you're in a battleship, and by the time you get your guns trained on them, they just whoo and disappear because again that excellent concealment rating. So Atago, great tier 8 premium ship. I've talked about her a bunch here on the channel, and again, one I would highly recommend. If you haven't managed to pick her up yet, definitely use this opportunity with these free doubloons to pick her up. Alright, going our way down now to number 3, we have the tier 6 premium British battleship, the Warspite. Next to getting this thing for $4 in the from Dunkirk to Narvik event, this is probably the best time you can get a Warspite. Although they do, well, I don't know if they do anymore. They used to give this thing away quite a bit in some promotions back when they were, and they still, run these promotions on larger YouTubers' channels still quite often. But I remember there was a time when they were just like giving this thing away like candy. But yeah, it's a great ship, and with these 32,000 free doubloons, you can easily pick this up as it's a tier 6 ship and costs peanuts compared to higher tier ships. It still have more than enough doubloons to buy, a tier 8 or I think even like a tier 9 ship after the fact. But yes, amazing tier 6 ship. If you need a good ship for tier 6 ranked, tier 6 brawls, tier 6 anything, look no further than the Warspite. The Warspite is a tier 6 battleship with guns that actually go where you generally want them to go. How many times have you been grinding through a tier 6 battleship and you just hate the dispersion on your main battery guns? It's incredibly inaccurate. You at best can hit like a battleship broadside, but when it comes to angled cruisers or destroyers, you're kind of just maybe hitting them with one shell, and it's an overpin, so that sucks. Not with the Warspite. The Warspite has some incredibly accurate guns at tier 6, and I know I've talked about the Warspite a bunch too, because it's a good ship, and one that you should definitely get. But on top of having accurate guns, they're 15-inch guns at tier 6, which means you don't really care too much about other players' armor. So you just punch through their nose like I'm doing to this New York in the first few minutes of this match. Which is why it has the nickname the tier 6 Yamato. So you can do that to a fair few amount of ships that you can see. What's really nice about the Warspite too is that when you do get double up tier to tier 8, because it's going to happen, you have pretty dang accurate 15-inch guns, even by tier 8 standards. So you're not really left behind in the gun race when it comes to higher tier games. Now, the Warspite is a very squishy ship in terms of its armor. It eats pins from, it seems like, everything. But you do get an improved heal to help mitigate some of that damage, so that's pretty nice. So great guns, great overmatch capability. You get the hill, and oddly enough, it has a lot of secondaries. I'm not saying you can secondary build it, but like if you are in like a tier 6, like brawls or whatever at tier 6, you want to be a little funny and put a secondary build on your Warspite. It's not the worst thing ever. I would definitely, if you're going random battles or ranked, go with a main battery gun build. But yeah, she's an excellent tier 6 premium, great British battleship commander trainer, really just commander trainer in general, and highly worth your free doubloons, right? So you can pick this one up, have enough money left over to buy probably again a couple more premiums, easy peasy. Speaking of more premiums, our number 2 slot is occupied by the tier 8 Pan-American cruiser, the Almirante Grau. This guy, we talked about him not that long ago. He's back in she's back in the armory for doubloons. And this is, quite simply put, one of the most ludicrous ships in the game. I think that's what the video that I did on her was titled not that long ago when she did return to the game. So this ship is a ship that you might recognize the shape of. We have the D7 Provincian, same class. This was sold to Peru back in the day, renamed it the Almirante Grau, and yeah, Wargaming said, you know what, add it to the game. Now, where the Almirante Grau differs from the D7 is that she does not have the airstrikes that the D7 has, but she, like the rest of the Pan-American ships, has combat instructions. But her combat instructions are very unique. While she has the same main battery guns as the De7 does, her combat instructions boost the performance of those guns to ludicrous levels. You see, when her combat instructions are active, you get a boost to the main battery gun reload time. Basically, when it's going, you have a tier 8 Austin on your hands, which is insane. And for 30 seconds, you get to keep that Austin level of DPM. And, when you have these 150mm guns going as fast as they go with the reload time, when these combat instructions are going, you're bringing in some serious damage with those combat instructions. Now, what makes the Almirante Grau even more ridiculous is the fact that to get these combat instructions popped, all you have to do is not get detected. That's it. The bar fills up fast enough to where most of the times, by the time you get to whatever flank you're going to, you've probably already, enough time has passed at least, where you can pop 2 of them. And that's where the next point in this ship comes, which is the fact that you can put Mr. Joachim on your ship. Joachim Phoenix here, what he does is, his talent is that when you pop your combat instructions twice, you get a permanent 25% addition to your combat instructions progress bar, meaning that's even less time you have to spend undetected to charge that bar. And after you've done that, well, now that you're spitting shells faster, more often, you're more than likely going to pop his next big thing, which is his talent, where once you hit 175 shells on target, I believe it's called Master and Commander, you get another buff to the main battery reload time of your Almirante Grau. And then once you factor in things like Adrenaline Rush, this thing has downright stupid levels of DPM with those combat instructions going. So this ship's ridiculous. If you like light cruisers, this is definitely a ship I would recommend picking up. Excellent Pan American commander trainer because of, again, the ridiculousness of the DPM of the ship. You'll be farming damage very easily, absolutely murdering destroyers that pop out in front of you with that reload booster there, which of course will net you a ton of income in terms of XP and credits. So amazing ship here, and I'm honestly surprised they lit her back into the game. Now, she does have a couple of big downsides. I mean, you don't have the combat instructions going. Her reload time makes heavy cruisers blush. And she does not have any airstrikes. She doesn't have any heal. So, yeah. It's a big ship. It's a well-armored light cruiser, so it does actually eat pins pretty well. So you definitely want to be hopping island to island, using island cover, and it's very easy to get screwed over in the ship if you get caught out in the open. So while yes, she is ridiculous when you've got, Joachim on her, when you've got the combat instructions going, the rest of the time she's a pretty, actually, not so great light cruiser, so it kind of balances out in the end. But yep, highly recommend picking her up. Goofy ship, fun ship. It's a ship that if you like min-maxing your stats, and min-maxing ship stats, definitely one that you will enjoy. Alright, finally we come down to the number 1 slot, which is occupied by the Tier 9 Premium Pan-European battleship, the Karl XIV Johan. This is a ship that is fairly new to the Army. She was added not that long ago back into the Armory after she was released in her original event all the way back in the day. And this is a ship that is a really, really good Tier 9 battleship. It's a really interesting formula too. This is a battleship that can stealth torpedo by a wide margin. It's not like the the Incomparable, where if you put everything into your concealment, you can get half a kilometer of stealth torpedoing range on your torpedoes. No. The Karl XIV Johan, you have a 3-kilometer stealth torpedo range, which is kind of dumb. And they are the Pan-European torpedoes, so they move fast in the water thanks to their high top speed. And they have a fast reload time, which means you can sling more of them downrange faster. And they're pretty easy to get hits on targets because of that, even at range. Now, the Karl XIV Johan does have gear guns as her main battery guns. So you don't have large battleship guns, you have the Aegir's guns. Which, the Aegir's guns do definitely still, carry a bit of a punch. But again, not full-size battleship guns. One of the balancing factors there. Now, the Karl XIV Johan does also have a bunch of secondary guns, but they are relatively small in caliber, so they can't really pin too much, but thanks to their good fire rate and, their numbers, they're pretty good at setting fires. So what I usually do in the Karl XIV Johan, unless I'm playing Unbreakable Line like what I'm doing right now, I'll keep the HE loaded on the Karl XIV Johan, and I'll try to do one of two things. I'll try to get torpedoes on the ship that I'm attacking, and, you know, most players, when you get a torpedo hit on them and it causes flooding, they'll instantly damage con that flooding. Then it's like, haha, you've activated my trap card, and I'll start spamming them with HE. And in an ideal situation, they're usually, you know, chasing after me. I'm kiting them. Then you slow down, let your secondaries get into range, and now you're spamming HE at them with your main battery guns. You're spamming HE at them with your secondary battery guns, and they burn their damage con. So all the fires your guns are going to be setting, which they will be setting fires, are permanent. And that's just HP that they are going to lose. So you just, you know, burn them down with that HE, send some more torpedoes at them, because again, get a pretty good reload time on those torps without even building into it. Rinse, wash, and repeat. Now, of course, not every situation is that situation. If you are in like a straight up brawl fest like what you're watching back here, obviously use the AP on the guns. They are 305mm guns, but the AP is still quite good, so don't be afraid to use them. And in a more traditional, you know, like higher tier game, you will be spamming HE a lot, but again, with the number of guns that you have, main battery guns that you have, and they're pretty decent reload, you'll be setting fires fairly consistently, I find, in the Karl XIV Johan, so it can still hang in there in those tier 9 games that don't necessarily get you into those brawling situations. So I mean, like, it's got torpedoes, it's got secondaries, it's got hydro, it's got pretty decent main battery guns. It's got a great concealment range too. Its secondaries only go out to 10.5 kilometers, but you've got like a 10.3 kilometer detection range if you fully build into it, which is fabulous. So you can really pick and choose when you want to get involved in a fight, unless there's like a CV or a submarine around, which, I mean, that's every stealthy ship's downfall, right? So, but yeah, it's a fun ship. It's a great ship, one I highly recommend you guys pick up. And again, got a great opportunity to get it for free with these free 32,000 doubloons in the Grand Voyage event. So guys, let me know in the comments down below, do you agree or disagree with my list? What ships would you add to the list? What ships would you remove from it? Let me know all that jazz in the comments down below. Hope you guys enjoy. Have a wonderful Monday, wonderful rest of your week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.